Well, good morning and welcome to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox, I'm your host, Frank Acom. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson's studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. Yes, yesterday I was away on assignment. I took the day off, and some people were commenting during the show, and I appreciate it. I like that someone noticed there were not leaves on the tree. So they suggested it was a cheap fake. It was not a cheap fake. It was a scheduled day off, and I apologize. But there was a very good comment from Ken, because yesterday's rebroadcast was with former Congressman Tom Reed. So obviously I can't ask him the question, but next time I have him on, I will. This is a very good point. I believe that our political system is broken due to how lucrative being in the U.S. Congress can be. To get honor and integrity back in Congress, we need 1, term limits, 2, yearly ethics reviews with real penalties, 3, strict insider trading rules to include family and friends, 4, a 5-year moratorium on serving on boards after public service. Very good point. One thing I've mentioned on this program numerous times is I do think term limits are probably not the fix, but probably the easiest way to change the system for the better. But I've heard others say, and I think it's a good point, that if the term limits aren't structured properly, and I thought this was a really good point. And, former Congressman Joe Sempolinski, I believe, this is his thoughts on it. We'll ask him next time he's on. But the issue with term limits is if it's too quick of a turnaround, you'll actually have a scenario where it's the bureaucrats, it's the people behind the scenes that you don't vote on that will end up having the most say because they'll know the system. You know, when a congressman gets in there, the people around him a lot of times either have experience or they learn and eventually know the procedures. So in that case, the idea is if the term limits were too short, the congressperson would not have enough time to really learn the system before leaving, and therefore it would be the people behind the scenes. But I thought that's an interesting point. But I would agree with you, Ken. I think there's a very good thoughts, all 4. Okay, Julian Assange has left jail on the way to enter his plea deal with the United States. He is released from British prison, and he is now on his way to a remote Pacific island where he will plead guilty to a conspiracy charge as part of a plea deal with the United States Justice Department. The agreement will free Assange and end the years-long legal battle over the publication of a trove of classified documents. It's hard to believe this has been going on this long. Whatever your opinion on it is, it's just a name that's been in the news, it seems consistently for how long now? Assange was charged by criminal information, which typically signifies a plea deal, with conspiracy to obtain and disclose national defense information. A letter from Justice Department official Matthew McKenzie said Assange would appear in a court in the Northern Marina Island at 9 a.m. local time, so 7 p.m. Eastern time Tuesday, to plead guilty. So there you go. There's your update. We've got a couple of kind of breaking stories. This coming from Drudge Report and daily.com, that there's a ransomware group that has claimed to have hacked the Federal Reserve. The ransomware group, known as Lockbit, claimed to have hacked the Federal Reserve Bank and says it will release 33 terabytes of sensitive data. Now, this was supposedly to be done today. In a post to the dark web, the criminal organization alleged that it had been in talks with the bank in order to secure a ransom in exchange for keeping the data private. 33 terabytes of juicy banking information containing America's banking secrets, the group wrote. You better hire another negotiator within 48 hours and fire this clinical idiot who values America's bank secrecy at $50,000 is what they posted. Interesting. We'll see where that unfolds. Just starting off with some oddball stories. There is a lot of discussion on the presidential debate coming up on Thursday. We all patiently await that debate. They're at the New York Post and elsewhere. They've been doing great reporting on the bias, as we've talked about on this program extensively, the bias at CNN. You may have saw that a Trump spokesperson was actually abruptly, for lack of a better word, kicked off the air just yesterday or the day before. We're going to talk about that. Also, CNN, some of the reporting they're doing on themselves. Also, Fox, I think it was Fox and CNN both taking a look at what to expect. New York Post has a, hey, Donald Trump, this is what you need to do to win kind of thing. What are your predictions as we near the debate, just a few days away? Here's something to keep you up at night. It's all happening again, according to the New York Times. The supply chain is under strain. Now, they go through, and it's a little bit too in-depth here. But if the supply chain disturbances or the pandemic proved anything, it was this. Trouble in any one place tends to ripple out widely. We look at the costs, we look at the delay. A container of chemicals that arrives late to its destination spells delayed production for factories, waiting for those ingredients. Ships jammed at ports wreak havoc on the flow of goods, clogging warehouses and putting pressure on the trucking and rail industry. Miss Loomis says, I love calling the market now COVID Junior, because in a lot of ways we're right back to where we were during the pandemic. Wow. So it's a very complex situation. It appears open-ended. There's no clear solution in sight. It's all happening again, folks. Get the supply chain in order. Many people speculated at the time, the original supply chain issues, that it could be kind of a test run for China to see how they can delay very important goods and services, or goods and products here in the United States. So I have no way of segueing all those together. That's why I started the program that way. We are going to talk about illegal immigration, also the presidential race in general, not just on the debate. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or criticisms, feel free at any time to comment on that number on the bottom of the screen if you're new to the program. And I do thank you to everybody who waved yesterday and commented, perhaps forgetting or maybe not knowing that I had the day off. But there were some really good comments, some nice statements. So I do appreciate that. And I do like the eye that caught that it was a rerun. We are going to talk about some anti-Semitic protests as well. And what do you think about Russia and this strike in Crimea? Do you think, blaming it on America and saying that there will be payback, essentially, I can't remember the exact term, is that just I think it's a cat and mouse game, or a game of chicken, maybe, to see, again, President Biden's reaction. So we will talk about that as well. My goodness, we have a lot to get to. And I don't even know where to begin. This is a little bit older, well, two kind of different stories. Since I'm just starting, sometimes we end with a hodgepodge. This morning we're starting with one. First of all, did you happen to watch the Travelers Championship golf? I will never be convinced that this is the way to win people over to your side. There were climate change protesters that disrupt the tournament. Climate protesters taking over the 18th hole on Sunday during the final round of the Travelers Championship didn't sit well with many in the sports media. This is going to be common. I mean, again, are there any real repercussions? This is happening at more sporting events, more large events. You have, of course, we've seen the anti-Semitic protests, shutting down colleges with no real repercussion. On Sports Center, Scott Van Pelt offered an honest assessment of the wild delay. That hole right there has seen some incredible moments and drama throughout the years. And now we have this, bedlam. Protesters running onto the green. Here come the cops. These idiots are on the green, and now you've got to clean things up. That seems to be kind of the common trend. But is this winning people over? I mean, I know it gets the coverage, but have you ever watched a protest like this and thought, boy, they must be right? It's the same with the anti-Semitic protesters who shut down roads and bridges so people can't get home from work or get to school or emergency vehicles get through. Who is this winning over? Now, the protesters appeared to be holding cylinder-like canisters with smoke emanating from them before being apprehended by authorities. This is very reminiscent of one of those spray paint, like they did recently a private jet, or they'll do some piece of art at a museum. The chaos ignited large-scale backlash from golf enthusiasts following the demonstration. No, we don't need to know about it's a couple days old about who won, but when something like that happens, you don't really know what's happening, said Scheffler. So it can kind of rattle you a little bit. That can be a stressful situation, and you'd hate for the tournament to end on something weird happening because of a situation like that. Again, I think we're going to see more of this on all sides. Another kind of older piece, since I have a moment here. I know I missed one day, and I feel like I've got so much to catch up on. Claudia Tenney, Congresswoman Claudia Tenney, announced that she has received the endorsement of every Republican state legislator representing New York's 24 in Albany. Now, this is not ours. Nick Langworthy is New York 23. But Claudia Tenney is doing a great job. And I just wanted to mention a couple quotes here from our local legislators. State Senator Tom O'Mara said, "I served with Claudia in Albany and now work with her as a partner in government as our Congresswoman. I'm grateful for the work she's done on behalf of upstate New Yorkers and endorse her campaign so she can continue delivering conservative wins for us." Assemblyman Phil Palmisano also endorsing, saying, "I have known and worked closely with Claudia Tenney since we were elected to the New York State Assembly in 2010. Claudia has worked tirelessly to support New York families, seniors, farmers, small businesses, and manufacturers by fighting to cut taxes and burdensome and costly regulations. In addition, Claudia has always made public safety an important and top priority through her efforts to fully support and fund local law enforcement and common sense criminal justice policies. Claudia is a true public servant, and you can count on her to fight for you and to deliver conservative wins for her district. I wholeheartedly endorse my friend and partner in government, Congresswoman Claudia Tenney." Just had a couple of those. I saw that come across my news, so I thought I would mention it. Also, today is primary day. I don't believe there is much locally. I did not receive any statements. I know there's some towns have a few primaries. We are going to talk more about this tomorrow, find out who won. The Bowman race is kind of interesting. A member of the squad that could be ousted. I have one quick thing on that, which we'll get to when we come back. Also, well, I got to take a break. We'll figure out what we're going to talk about coming up next. Stay with us. We're just getting started here on Frankly Speaking.
Isn't your wellness important? Don't you want more energy? Now's the best time to make every day better and relieve those achy muscles and pains than with the Hesselson's Hot Tub. Hesselson's has hot tubs in stock and available for immediate delivery with unbelievable savings. Hesselson's offers 0% interest-free financing for up to 5 full years. Hesselson's carries the only hot tub brand in the industry with the exclusive freshwater salt system that is eco-friendly and easy to use and only enhances your hot tubbing experience. Come in today and see why your next hot tub should be a Hesselson's hot tub. And remember, it's always fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
Was your premature baby fed a cow's milk baby formula such as Similac or Enfamil? If so, your child may be entitled to significant financial compensation. Evidence shows that cow's milk formulas increase the risk of NEC in premature babies, causing severe harm and even death. If your child was born premature and suffers from NEC, intestinal perforations, sepsis, cerebral palsy, or died as a result, you may have the right to sue for significant financial compensation. Call now for a free case review.
These are few of the over 500,000 very happy Audient hearing aid customers. They're happy because they now live a better life. And they live a better life because they hear better. And they hear better because they purchased a full pair of Audient Adam 2s for only $189.
The Adam hearing aids, the best I have ever come across in my life.
Fit nicely in my ear. Nobody sees them.
Oh, I love the product, love the support, and I'm going to buy another pair.
And it's not just customers who rave about Audient. Forbes ranked them the best hearing aids of 2024. The Adam 2 is so tiny, nearly invisible. They've got great sound quality. And did we mention only $189 for a full pair?
It really does make it nice to be able to be out in a restaurant and hear what everyone's saying.
And it's so easy to order. Call Audient right now.
1-800-895-1553.
Shipping is free, and you get a 45-day money-back guarantee.
We are back with Frankly Speaking, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. A couple comments from viewers. It would be nice to have honest people in Congress, people who want to make America better, not destroy it. Power corrupts and leads to greed, theft, and perversions of unimaginable levels. Frank, I have a huge problem with the recent report out of New York that 49 states are directing their government officials to register every illegal immigrant they can to vote in our elections. This smashes our Constitution and constitutes treason in my book. I don't know about the specifics that you're mentioning, but I know that a conservative legal group has fired off a letter to officials in every state in the country. This happened on Monday, urging them to enforce existing laws and prevent non-U.S. citizens from registering to vote or casting ballots in elections. This is coming from the New York Post. America First Legal wrote to chief election officials, Secretary of States, Attorney Generals, Lieutenant Governors, and governors on Monday, calling on them to verify immigration status on voter rolls using the Department of Homeland Security data and boo any non-American they find off the rolls. If DHS fails to respond to an inquiry, you can sue in federal court to obtain the necessary information that Congress has required DHS to provide, says the letter. Given widespread public concern over the presence of foreign nationals on voter rolls in jurisdictions across the United States and unprecedented levels of illegal immigration across our southern border since January 20th of 2021, the time to act is now. Now, it is illegal for foreign nationals to register to vote or cast ballots in federal elections, but tens of thousands of non-citizens have been discovered on voter rolls, recent audits and investigations have shown. Hundreds of later ended up voting without being discovered beforehand. Not nearly enough to decide election results, but at least 8 million more migrants are expected to be living in the U.S. by October of this year, many of whom are eligible for welfare benefits that would put them within reach of voter registration opportunities. Now, AFL President Stephen Miller, you may remember that name. He was a part of the Trump administration for a while. In a statement, accused the Biden administration of a direct effort to sabotage the 2024 election through potential mass illegal alien voting. 19 states and Washington, D.C. also allow non-citizens to obtain driver's licenses, a move that Biden backed during the 2020 presidential campaign. So just kind of a quick update on that, from that comment from a viewer. Speaking of illegal immigration, I don't want to get too much into this because it gets very graphic the more we learn about what happened to Rachel Morin and that tragic tale. I hope I'm pronouncing her name right. Jocelyn Nungari and her murder. In that case, the judge has set bond at $10 million. Now, again, I don't want to get into the specifics of the case. If that's something that you're not familiar with, you can find it for yourself. In this case, at the New York Post, Johan Jose Martinez Rangel, 22, and Franklin Pina, 26, were arrested by the Houston Police Department on Thursday after Jocelyn's body was discovered in a shallow creek last Monday morning. Just 12 years old. And then you have Rachel Morin, who we talked about yesterday. Well, according to the prosecutors, it was an illegal getaway, one of the gotaways where we have really no record. Again, I don't want to go into the specifics of 37-year-old Rachel Morin, what happened to her in her final moments. But she was killed allegedly at the hands of an illegal alien getaway. What is considered the most horrific case ever seen in the county's history. Morin's half-sister, Erin Morin Lehman, said Biden's first day in office was to remove every executive order that Trump had put in place to secure our border. Biden stopped building the wall. As far as I'm concerned, the Biden administration has the blood of Rachel Morin on their hands. It's sickening because this should have been prevented. How many more are like this? It's just really sad and no one's safe. It's not the first story and it won't be the last. She also mentioned about the phone call that the family received from former President Trump saying Trump was just really heartfelt and sincere. We talked about this last week. That we were very appreciative of. To hear her name mentioned at his rallies. If Rachel's story can help make a change, to change people's hearts, to want to secure our border and keep our country safe, I think she would be honored by that. We just pray that the crimes stop. People coming in who are associated with gangs, sex and human trafficking, drugs. There's just so much in this. It has to come to a stop. Rachel Morin's mother ripped into President Biden's indifference over the border crisis. This is coming from Fox News. It's like they're pretending these immigration problems don't exist and people aren't being harmed and killed by their policies, Patty Morton said. The victims are those that are being killed, but also the loved ones that they've left behind. It's devastating to the community. It's like you have a candle and all of a sudden you just blow it out, referring to Rachel's death. And all around America, there are these lights just being blown out. And this is so sad. I'm sure she knew she wasn't going to live. I'm sure she was thinking of her children and thinking about all the things she's going to lose. And this is going to be the end of her life. She must have felt so helpless. President Biden hasn't really shown any concern for anything the American people have voiced on this issue. It's like he's sitting in an ivory tower and we're just down here. He's not connected with the everyday person. Mr. Trump was actually very genuine. I think you could tell in a person's voice, from his voice, he sounded genuinely concerned, as if he himself had experienced a loss. Do you remember the name? Oh, well, I'm running late again. Do you remember the name John Walsh? John Walsh was behind America's Most Wanted. I know he's gotten political in the past, if I'm not mistaken, but that's not why I bring this up. He actually talked about coming back, and I don't know if it's going to be America's Most Wanted, but he said, what's happening at the border is an incredible travesty. He said cartels in Mexico are teaming up with violent Central American gangs to traffic unaccompanied children to profit. The alleged plot works like this. The cartels take money from the parents, promising that their children will be transported safely to the U.S. to find work. But once they're across the border, the gangs swoop in. They get paid by the parents who think they're getting their daughter or their son a job in America. They're not. They get them across the border, and the cartels and the gangs take over. MS-13, Venezuela gangs, violent. And those little girls and some little boys are being trafficked. He said the border crisis is part of his motivation for getting back on the hunt for criminals. Walsh also noted that the federal government has acknowledged tens of thousands of unaccompanied minors cross the border every year and questioned the safety of allowing that to happen. Where do those kids go? Who took those kids? We know who took them, sex traffickers. So our work is going to be cut out big time. What is happening at the border is an incredible travesty. Speaking alongside his son and co-host, Callahan, he also answered a question about the public's fascination with America's Most Wanted. And he said, I always believed that people would help if you showed them a way to help. All right. We're jumping around on a lot of topics this morning. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
At Platinum Roofing and Construction, we're proud to introduce services for Pinnacle Sun Solar Reflective Shingles. Built with innovative technology, these shingles reflect the sun's radiant heat away from the roof, keeping your AC costs down and improving the overall energy efficiency of your home. Pinnacle Sun shingles can keep your home up to 20 degrees cooler and can be installed at a lower price than asphalt shingles. Call or visit our website to get a quote on your new Pinnacle Sun roof. Not satisfied with the gold standard? Get Platinum Roofing for the last roof you'll ever need.
You rip and tear your old statements and bills and simply toss those old bottles of pills. But thieves use this information to steal your identity. Don't be a victim. Get the ID Police, the new ink roller that encrypts all your old documents. So before you throw it out, just roll it on and your information is gone. Look, an identity thief can use simple information to get access to your credit card. Then you're responsible for the bills. But ID Police permanently prints a unique encryption graphic that makes it impossible to read through, both on the front and through the back, even if the paper is held up to the light. And it works on all forms of paper, matte or glossy. Paper shredders are slow and always jam, but roll with ID Police and you're in control. Watch again. Here's a bank statement with your name and account number. Now, one easy roll and all your personal information is blocked. Name and address? Blocked. Credit card number? Blocked. phone, electricity, and gas bill. Now they're all safe to toss in the trash. So relax. Even your medical information is safe with the ID Police. And those applications or pre-approved checks make you vulnerable too. So block it out before you throw it out. And thwart any thief with the ID Police. Order now and get your ID Police for as low as $9.99. And get free shipping too. That's right, free shipping. This offer is not available on Amazon, but it is available online or on the phone. So call or click now to get your ID Police for as low as $9.99 with free shipping. Take control with ID Police on patrol. Order now.
Call 1-800-731-2964. That's 1-800-731-2964 or visit getidpolice.com. So call 1-800-731-2964 now.
And we are back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox, thank you so much for joining us this morning as we broadcast live from the Hesselson studio. Here's a comment from a viewer. Good morning, Frank. Good morning. Every day we see corruption and decline. We need to face the fact that we are not living in a civilized society and see very little being done to stop crime. Rather, it seems we promote it in every possible way, with few consequences, and it's not going to end well if we don't elect a strong leader. And even then, I'm not sure we can rein it in when hands are tied out of control. Yeah, you talk about hands being tied, like with bail reform. You see, speaking of no consequences, New York City activists are slamming District Attorney Bragg for dropping charges against anti-Israel Columbia protesters. And we're seeing more of these protests. And again, why wouldn't we, to this viewer's point? I know that's not the only thing you're speaking of, but there are no consequences. When we see this kind of lawlessness, we realize that in this case, like I mentioned with Bragg's, they are more focused on bringing down somebody like Trump than they are about you, me, public safety in general. Dozens of protesters swarmed Alvin Bragg's office building yesterday to rip him for nixing charges against members of the anti-Israel mob that attacked Columbia University. Call the move a betrayal. What Alvin Bragg is saying to all New Yorkers who follow the law is, if you conceal your identity, if you harass Jews long enough, if you break property, if you take maintenance workers hostage, if you do that, you will not be prosecuted, said a Harvard University grad. This is un-American, that is anti-Semitic, that is unacceptable in the great city of New York. And again, where was Bragg's focus? We know Bragg bragged about bringing down Trump, that he was going to bring down Trump, and that's what he was focused on. Students, especially those who lived on campus, feared for their safety, unsure if they or their dorm rooms were targets. Personally, I did not return to campus until graduation because of how physically aggressive and completely out of hand this incident had become. And as I've mentioned, well, I'll continue. If Bragg isn't doing his job and refuses to prosecute for whatever reason, we don't care what the reason is, then we're asking the DOJ to take over, both to investigate and prosecute these crimes and investigate Bragg's failure to protect civil rights of minority New Yorkers, our Jewish civil rights. Bragg said last week that 31 of the 46 anti-Israel demonstrators busted by police have had their charges dropped, despite the fact that the mob had broken windows and furniture and allegedly threatened people as they illegally stormed historic Hamilton Hall. So many saying they're appalled. I don't need to read all the quotes. But look, it's not just on college campuses. As I've mentioned, it is spread from college campuses. I don't know if you saw over the weekend. We are playing a little bit of catch up because I had yesterday off. But that synagogue was targeted by an anti-Semitic mob. President Joe Biden said that he was appalled by the scenes from an anti-Semitic mob that had targeted the Adas Torah synagogue. According to reports from the scene, the protesters have surrounded the synagogue and are preventing Jews from entering. As one Twitter user put, more chaos, this is not Gaza, this is Los Angeles. Anti-Israel protesters are physically attacking Jews in front of a synagogue in Los Angeles. This will not, quote, free Palestine. Where are the police? Where are the National Guard? Now, President Biden, as I mentioned, released a statement. I'm appalled by the scenes outside of Adas Torah Synagogue in Los Angeles. Intimidating Jewish congregants is dangerous, unconscionable, anti-Semitic, and un-American. Americans have a right to peaceful protest, but blocking access to a house of worship and engaging in violence is never acceptable. I do find this very interesting that there's this disclaimer when there's these anti-Semitic, anti-Israel, anti-American, anti-police protests, mobs, that there's always that disclaimer by politicians to say Americans have a right to peaceful protest. Well, when we see the videos, we see what is happening on the ground. No part of it is peaceful. The same when we talk about Columbia or we talk about many of the colleges across the country that were engaging in this. Adam Schiff, you remember Adam Schiff, saying, blocking entry to a synagogue, attacking Jewish people and their businesses indiscriminately. That's not protest, that's pure, plain anti-Semitism. The horrifying violence in Pico Robertson on Sunday has absolutely no place in California. All right. There is, and I'm not going to have time to get to it, but if you have a moment, I don't know how you say this word. Let me first preface that. I'm going to be fully open with you. When someone lights themselves on fire, I guess there is a term for it, self-immolating. If I pronounced it wrong, I apologize. But this piece from Ricky Schlott says, self-immolating serviceman Aaron Bushnell is an alarm for the online radicalization of American kids. You may remember Aaron Bushnell. He lit himself on fire in front of the Israeli embassy in Washington. This was back in February. Well, when she did the research and others, he had fallen prey to this ideological narrative, fallen down this rabbit hole online. And she does a very good job of explaining how this is a real fear for people, maybe your kids, family, loved ones, how easy it is to be radicalized on the internet and radicalized by, certain professors and the like. Bush now became a self-described anarchist who policed language online forums and was always careful to profess his he-him pronouns. According to New York Magazine, he was with a leftist organizer friend when he heard of Hamas's October 7th attacks, saying, "We were like, blank. Yeah, cool." They broke out of their prison. Well, anyway, October 7th propelled Bushnell into his obsession and began compulsively writing about the conflict on Reddit, even posting 20 times on Christmas Day. That's how radicalized he became. He dubbed democracy a sham that was invented by the first great slave state of history and not coincidentally adopted by the last, referring to the U.S. and Israel. I don't want to go through all of his statements. You can find this for yourself to just give you an idea of how easy it is to be radicalized, and I think that's what we're seeing on college campuses and why these anti-Semitic protests spread like wildfire, because it was so easy to get radicalized. It's now the quote-unquote cool thing to do, to be a part of these protests, to spew this bigotry, all in the name of thinking you're brilliant in some way, bringing down colonialization, whatever the case may be. But it's nothing to laugh at. It's very serious, and I think if there is a silver lining about these protests, that opened the eyes of so many people to see just how bad college campuses has become with the radicalization and the indoctrination. Okay, I told you we were going to jump around on every issue. I'm not even trying to segue any longer. We have quite a few updates about the campaigns in general. We're going to talk about the debate. Are you excited for the debate? What are your thoughts? I know many people, myself included, very skeptical of having it on CNN. I know President Trump, it was his terms to agree to. He said okay, knowing that no matter where he went, the moderators were going to be biased. But when you look at how CNN's handling this, I mentioned, and we'll get to it a little bit later on, the New York Post doing that, putting together some of the worst examples of CNN's bias. So we got to know going in, it's not going to be fair. But are you nervous? Are you excited for it? A lot of people see it as an opportunity to go after Biden and kind of that weakness there with Biden. We're going to take a look at what some of the quote-unquote experts had to say about how Trump should plan. I don't know. I don't like the mic being cut off. I don't like that it's at CNN, if I'm being truthful. And it concerns me because, as I've mentioned over and over again, you can see the headlines already. Biden comes through when he had to, when it mattered the most. best performance of any president. You know, you can almost see it for yourself. So we're going to talk about that. When we come back, I do want to quickly cover about Russia and Crimea. We're not going to get too much in that because I know the debate is the hot topic, and we're going to talk about it extensively. Just a few things we have to catch up on. So stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Attention, if you were a loved one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and now have uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call now to see if you qualify. There's no fee unless we win your case.
Stock up for summer and save at GCP Discount Liquors and Wines. A High Noon Vodka Seltzer Variety Pack, regularly $26.99, is on sale for $24.99. Final cost $19.99 after mail-in rebate. Kim Crawford Sauvignon Blanc or Rosé, normally $15.99, is now $12.99. Save up to $48 on a case with rebate. That's $8.99 a bottle after rebate. GCP Discount Liquors and Wines in Horseheads. The best in service, selection, and price.
I'm Jonathan Lawson. If you're 50 to 85, please listen closely. The lock I want to talk to you about isn't the one on your door. It's a rate lock for your life insurance that guarantees that once you're insured, your rate can never go up at any time for any reason. Many policies you see don't have one, but you can get a lifetime rate lock from Colonial Penn. This plan was designed for people on a fixed income with coverage options that start at $9.95 a month. That's less than 35 cents a day. Your rate is locked in for life. Coverage can never be canceled, and your acceptance is guaranteed. You cannot be turned down because of your health. See for yourself. Call for an information kit and gift. Both are free with no obligation.
Call 1-800-781-9990 for your free information and your free gift. That's 1-800-781-9990. 1-800-781-9990. Call now.
Getting real video for a commercial used to be extremely expensive, but not anymore. WYDC TV Big Fox now offers the Twin Tiers amazing aerial video for your business. We do it with our state-of-the-art drone and commercially licensed aerial pilot. Beautiful HD aerial video and pictures custom-made for your commercial. Call or email now to advertise on Big Fox TV and let everyone see your business in a whole new way.
And we are back, frankly speaking, here on WYDC TV, Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Hakem. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. We have a lot to cover. I wanted to hear your thoughts on this because I know there's been some different back and forth about Ukraine on this program and elsewhere. What's your opinion? May be different than others. I'd love to hear what you have to say. Moscow directly blamed us for Ukrainian attack on Kremlin and Crimea. Now, they're saying at the New York Post it's all bluster. Sadly, the Biden White House and the isolationist right fall for it every time. Ukrainian troops used U.S.-provided long-range missile systems to strike targets near, I'm going to try it, Sevastopol. A Russian interceptor blew one of them up over the city, killing at least 4. That is, Russia bears immediate responsibility for the deaths, to say nothing of the fact that it invaded Ukraine to begin with. And Crimea is Russian-occupied Ukrainian territory. Cue the bluster as Russia releases a statement saying this cannot but have consequences for the United States, threatening America with earthly fire. Putin is aggressive and bloodthirsty, yes, but he's not going to start a nuclear war. That'd be disastrous for him, too. He's simply playing chicken with the White House because he knows Biden will always blink first, and social media armchair geopolitical experts will cry World War III. Our president refuses to learn from the example set by all previous successful U.S. deterrents of Russia, namely standing strong against anyone interested in upending the post-war global order. Consider the missiles in question. Joe dithered for more than a year about letting Ukraine have the weapons at all, and then handed them over with conditions on their use. No striking targets within Russia, even though Russia strikes all across Ukraine. That rendered them nearly pointless. No, Putin's so dead scared of Biden growing a spine and revoking that condition that he's having his minions roar out empty threats. He's likely also worried about domestic blowback over the deaths of civilians his regime encouraged to vacation near key military targets. And Putin's worry that there are good things. Indeed, a wiser U.S. president would let it be the start of a new deterrence. Yet global experts were quick to rally around the idea that this latest round of threats marks the start of a global apocalypse rather than merely the next phase in Putin's bluffing of Biden. And the White House would doubtlessly cite that same bogus worry to justify the lameness of whatever response it decides upon. Ronald Reagan put it best. War comes not when the forces of freedom are strong, but when they are weak. It is then that the tyrants are tempted. Biden would do well to remember that. That's from the New York Post. Also coming from the New York Post, don't fall for Putin's Crimea cries. He's coldly preying on Biden's escalation fears, knowing that Biden is scared. Look, it goes back to when he told our friends, our allies, not to criticize Iran and their nuclear ambitions and the growth in their nuclear ambitions because they don't want confrontation right before November. Everything is being done for votes. Whether it's the weakness with our ally, Israel, everything this president is doing is ultimately for the votes at the end of the day. The Kremlin knows Biden fears escalation and has seen how this administration's fear has driven their foreign policy. It's time for the White House that it's found its lost backbone and quit hedging Ukraine into a forever war of attrition that it cannot win. Okay, I see some comments coming in on the debate. What's your thoughts? I think we're all a little nervous, or maybe nervous isn't the right term, apprehensive about how this is going to go because of the rule changes, on how different this is going to look, how early this is. We will talk about that. Today is primary day, and one of the, I don't know, if you're political kind of, I'm not going to say nerd, if you're a political person like myself, I think it's going to be very interesting to watch the Bowman race. He's a member of the squad, Jamal Bowman. You recall he was the one that pulled the fire extinguisher, or a fire alarm, in Congress to stop a vote from happening. Well, he faces ouster from Congress because this is Vladimir, his opponent, Democrat opponent. Last I saw was up something like 17 points. Bowman, who's been outspoken about his support for Palestine, has charged that Israel has committed genocide, has been targeted by roughly $14 million in spending by the American Israel Public Affairs Committee. I think they said this was the most money ever involved in a primary at one point. Then he gives a speech over the weekend at this supposed rally. Very few people showed up, where he was just cussing up a storm. I don't know, to energize people. It seems to be a newer trend, I would want to say, within the last 5 years, where politicians, I think, some of them, think that it's shocking and edgy and will get them support. It's very uncomfortable. Now, speaking with reporters on Monday, Vladimir called Bowman's language inappropriate. And Vladimir emphasized that during the campaign, I've been called a lot of unkind things. I've opened up a weekly newspaper in this county and see myself referred to as Genocide George. I've had all sorts of claims lobbed at me. I think there's been a lot of criticism lobbed at me by my opponent that is unfair and inaccurate, but I don't think I get it right to use my temper. I don't think I get the right to curse in public and carry on in a certain way. That's going to be one of the interesting one to watch tonight. But AOC was at that rally. She even doubled down on it, saying it's called organizing. First of all, it was an R-rated event with all the cussing. Her part was kind of odd. She was dancing around at one point. This was in the Bronx, by the way. Fox News is big mad that we're for the many, not the money, she wrote. Big mad. That's cringeworthy, isn't it? Fox News is big mad that we're for the many, not the money. We rallied 1,200 people in the Bronx to take on dark money, get fired up, and send busloads of volunteers to Canvas and Phone Bank. It's called organizing, and it's fun as, and we'll say heck. I don't know if it's fun. 1,200. Think of how many people, by the way, in the Bronx that former President Trump got, but also many people saying it was nowhere near that number. And by the way, Trump got somewhere around 10,000 people. If you are really, really bored, you go ahead and watch some of the clips from that quote-unquote rally, and it'll give you a little bit of what we're dealing with. All right, we got some comments. When we come back, stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox will be right back.
Isn't your wellness important? Don't you want more energy? Now's the best time to make every day better and relieve those achy muscles and pains than with the Hesselsen's Hot Tub. Hesselsen's has hot tubs in stock and available for immediate delivery with unbelievable savings. Hesselsen's offers 0% interest-free financing for up to 5 full years. Hesselsen's carries the only hot tub brand in the industry with the exclusive freshwater salt system that is eco-friendly and easy to use and only enhances your hot tubbing experience. Come in today and see why your next hot tub should be a Hesselsen's hot tub. And remember, it's always fun to poke in the corners at Hesselsen's.
Attention, if you or a loved one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and now have uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call now to see if you qualify. There's no fee unless we win your case.
Put confidence, adventure, and accomplishment firmly in your hands with the Polaris Sportsman lineup. Get the most out of every day, pull off the toughest hauls, and keep charging on.
Ithaca Recreation Sports, Route 13 in Newfield. Get outside and ride.
In a few words, Urkel, glasses, nerd. It pays to know your nerds. If you guys didn't get nerd with me sitting up here on this show, 25 words or less.
Weeknights at 5 and 5.
Our beautiful view of historic Market Street as we broadcast live from the Hesselson studio. You're watching Frankly Speaking, and I really do appreciate it. A couple comments coming in from viewers, and we are going to talk about the debate. I know that's what you want to talk about. So I have one or two little quick things that I want to get to before the top of the hour, and then we'll focus on the debate. This is a comment from a viewer. I am nervous about the debate and knowing what has been done to Trump with nonstop court battles and the year-long show Cheney conducted on January 6th and countless other incidents of harassment, starting in 2015, in my opinion. I can't imagine what's in store, and he will have a little time, to counter anything, and particularly concerned about the choice and content of the commercials that will air. And I fear that any human would react angrily, and they can't wait to pounce. Yes, many people saying Trump has to keep it toned down, and if he gets angry, they will pounce. I think the media is ready, and I would agree with you. I think the media, CNN specifically, and Biden are very ready to try to get under his skin so that he gets angry. I couldn't agree more. I'm concerned about that. As for the commercial content, I could definitely see where that could be misused. I would hope, who knows what's CNN, I would hope CNN wouldn't allow political advertising during the debate, meaning I would hope they don't have a Biden commercial during the debate or some political action committee. I don't know. The commercial part, I get it. CNN is struggling, and they know that this is their biggest chance with ratings, and it's going to get a big number, so they have both candidates agree to allowing commercial breaks. I think not only does that make it very awkward because they break, but they can't go talk to their campaign people, but also killing the momentum of the debate as you're just getting going. And also, you've heard my thought, if Biden is to falter, if he goes on one of those kind of rambles or starts to stare off or whatever the case, I think they'll be ready to take that commercial break right away. They'll either cut over to Trump or the moderators, or they'll go, okay, sorry, Mr. President, we have to stop you because it's time for a commercial break. So I think it's kind of an excuse to have an out. A comment from a different viewer. Trump needs to let Biden hang himself and channel Reagan. Just be wise instead of a wise guy. Be presidentially correct and give nothing for the media to spin. Say only obvious truths and mirror what is actually happening, and he will come out on top. He needs to show the contrast of being awake and being woke. I like that line at the end. I do think he needs to sit back and let Biden do more talking. I know last go around, that was one of the big problems. I thought Trump didn't let Biden kind of hurt himself, the more opportunity you give Biden to wander off in his statement or bring up something demonstrably false, I think is a missed opportunity. Also, to your point, I don't listen. I like what you're saying there. You can't give, meaning Trump can't give anything for the media to spin. I think they're going to find something to spin no matter what. I mean, just be prepared for that. No matter how good a performance that Trump has, if he has, it's all speculation now. I'm just saying, if he has a great performance, it still will be. There'll still be spin by the media suggesting it wasn't as good. As I said, I believe you're going to see the headline, unless something really disastrous happens, where it will be Biden had the performance of a lifetime, perhaps best debate performance of any president since, and they'll name somebody. Just be prepared to be, no matter what you see with your eyes, to be shocked about what the media ultimately ends up saying. So we will talk about that a little more in depth here in just a moment. Keep those comments coming in. I really do appreciate it. We have a look at what CNN is saying about the debate, what Fox News is saying about the debate. I think New York Post as well. And a few other people weighing in on not just the debate, but on the presidential race in general. So we've heard from a few of you. What are your thoughts about the upcoming debate? What would you like to see from Trump? What do you expect from Biden? What do you expect from the media? I think that's an important part in all of this. Interesting that CNN has the debate. There's only, as far as I know, this and one other. And I think the other one is in September. So it sounds like there'll be only 2 presidential debates. I know what I've said, but it's only Tuesday. But I have thought that it would not happen. And I think there's probably some type of excuse Biden could come up with, even though they're practicing. It looks like they're ready to go. But, Trump demanding that they take a drug test, something like that, he could say, well, that's enough. It went too far, and I'm out. It's not over yet. I'll be watching closely like you will on Thursday to see what plays out. Okay, let's take our last break of this hour. Boy, we're moving fast on this Tuesday morning edition. Stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking, and we'll be right back.
If you or a loved one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer.
How do I know if I have a case?
Call 844-292-6222 and consult with one of our attorneys to find out if the products you used are part of the lawsuit. Your eligibility will also depend on how often you use these hair products and your specific cancer diagnosis. If you regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. Call 844-292-6222.
How much will it cost to talk to an attorney?
There is no fee unless we win your case. Call 844-292-6222 for your free case review.
You have to earn the right to be in this show. You got to earn it. I know pressure. I know how to handle it. How to get into the fight, try to win.
We're going to give it every single ounce that we have.
It's coming down just to the wire. We're all feeling it.
Hold on, it's going to fly.
Gone like a shot.
You got to bring it on.
This ain't just a racetrack.
The NHRA Summit Nationals, Sunday at 5 Eastern on Fox.
And we are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Frankly Speaking. Another comment from a viewer. Ironic that Trump is fiercely criticized for his demeanor, but I find it amazing that he has shown such control when scrutinized 24/7 in every way possible since he started the campaign around 2015. Pretty amazing, if you ask me. I think that's a very fair point. They talk about his demeanor, and yes, he's, aggressive at the rallies and like that, but when you look at how the media has treated him since 2015, it is pretty remarkable that he doesn't lose it. So that's a good point. Thank you. One thing about Biden before we wrap up this hour. President Biden's latest student loan bailout was blocked Monday by federal judges in Kansas and Missouri. Yeah, but didn't the Supreme Court tell him he couldn't do this? And he bragged about it later. They can't stop me. talking about a threat to democracy. And yes, there is, I know, a lot of criticism out from the left with the Supreme Court. They're trying to do everything they can to discredit the court. But it looks like this week they are going to make a decision on immunity for President Trump, so we'll be keeping an eye on that. But the nationwide preliminary injunctions issued by U.S. District Judges Daniel Crabtree in Kansas and John Ross in Missouri, which this is an important point to this, both appointees of former President Barack Obama, prevent the Biden administration from canceling any more federal student debt for borrowers enrolled in the Saving on a Valuable Education Plan, or SAVE. The president's education department will also be barred from implementing new SAVE plan provisions while the litigation plays out. The judges did not call for debt relief already handed out to be clawed back. Biden's SAVE plan, which is expected to cost U.S. taxpayers, you and I, $475 billion over the next 10 years, aims to cut monthly income-based student loan payments in half and eliminate monthly payments for minimum wage earners. For student borrowers who owe $12,000 or less, all outstanding debt would be forgiven after 10 years. So that just means you're not paying it, right? That just means you got to wait patiently 10 years while you get those annoying calls saying you owe. I don't know. We brought up that story to you last week of that congressional aide who made around $80,000 bragging that Biden paid off his student debt. Even though, like, so many people are saying, well, let's see, you're a Philadelphia Eagles season ticket holder. Look at all these things that you're doing, and you couldn't pay off. I think it was, what was it, $8,000 in debt? Anyway, I don't need to go through all the numbers, but Kansas's victory today is a victory for the entire country, said Attorney General Chris Kobach. And the court correctly held whether to forgive billions of dollars of student loan is a major question that only Congress can answer. Biden's administration is attempting to usurp congressional authority. This is not only unconstitutional, it is unfair. Blue-collar Kansas workers who didn't go to college shouldn't have to pay off the student loans of New Yorkers with gender studies degrees. Andrew Bailey, the Missouri Attorney General, said Congress never gave Biden the authority to saddle working Americans with $500 billion in people's debt. A huge win for the Constitution. So that's another quick update. He'll just end up doing what he wants. Why not? The Department of Education did not respond to a request for comment from the New York Post. When we come back in the next hour, hour number 2 of Frankly Speaking, it'll be mostly about the debate. I would love to hear your thoughts on it. Yes, it's going to be a very big topic all week. I don't want to focus all 2 hours on it, but there's a few things here we definitely have to bring up about the debate, and I would love to hear your overall thoughts on what you expect to happen on Thursday, what you would like to see happen, just your overall thoughts, because like many people said, and I think it is a fair point, kind of nerves going into it. This is sometimes they say the debates don't really have make that much of a difference. This seems like one where it really could, but that means the bar has been set very low for Biden, because it's already been presented in the media that people are just expecting him to ramble on. It's going to be very reminiscent of the State of the Union, where he puts together some sentences and all of a sudden he was victorious. So I think as much as they're practicing, we can expect him to be pretty set and not ramble on too much. But we'll see. We'll see what others had to say too coming up in the next hour. Whew. First hour through already. How fast does this program go? And how much did we cover already, by the way? Pretty impressive, if I do say so myself. So stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox. Stay with us.
Wow. You found it.
I did.
The History of Water Part 6? I've been dying to read this.
I know, honey.
I always wanted that book.
At Culligan, we get that most people don't think about water like we do, and that's okay. You see, when we install one of our high-efficiency water softeners, we're thinking about hard water and limescale buildup, so you can just think about longer-lasting appliances and softer skin and hair. At Culligan, we think about your water, so you don't have to.
Call today to schedule your free water test.
Attention, this is an important message for firefighters, members of the military, and airport workers. For decades, first responders and firefighters at military bases and airports used a chemical-based foam to fight fires. Studies have shown that chemicals used to make aqueous film-forming foam, or AFFF, are highly toxic to humans and have been associated with several types of cancer. If you or someone you know was diagnosed with any of those cancers, call now for a free case review.
Hi, I'm Sam. Welcome to Pangea Global Tea House.
Pangea Global Tea House offers comfort foods of the world. Over 50 teas, a sampling of cuisine from over 10 countries. Globally inspired cuisine and striving to give you an ultimate experience. Come in and try the frankly delicious Turkey Club special for just $20, including your beverage of choice. Pangea Global Tea House. Yet a really good tea house bringing you the flavors of the world, offering something for everyone.
Hour number 2 of Frankly Speaking. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm your host, Frank Acom. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. If you're new to the program, you see that number on the bottom of your screen. Feel free to comment at any time, leave a voicemail or text. Let's talk a little bit about the Trump-Biden debate. Now, coming from CNN, yeah, it's the same venue, the same outlet that will be broadcasting the debate. Stephen Collinson says the Biden-Trump debate will lay bare a fateful national crossroads. The country is confronting a perilous moment, internally estranged over politics and culture, and as multiple foreign policy crises deepen. America faces a choice in November that will lead, like in Robert Frost's poem, down one of two divergent roads from which there may be no coming back. Meaning that, boy, we just couldn't survive Trump. And you're saying, well, maybe that's not what he means, Frank. Well, hold on. Trump's attempt to regain the White House, less than 4 years after he attempted to steal the last election, poses a potentially existential question for the democratic system. The former president's conservative backers are, meanwhile, proposing an evisceration of the bureaucracy and the politicalization of judicial and intelligence leadership posts to reconcile the goals of a GOP candidate sporting one criminal conviction, 3 other indictments, and a thirst for revenge. Now, where's that coming from, this thirst for revenge? I think to that viewer's point about Trump's demeanor, I would say he could have been a lot worse in some of the things he said about the weaponization of the judicial system and what he plans to do. Because if you recall, back in 2016, it was chance of lock her up. I haven't seen it to that level in these rallies, but I'll continue. At the same time, and despite a roaring jobs market, millions of Americans are worn down by high prices and the cost of borrowing. The legacy of a once-in-a-generation pandemic robbed the country of a sense of economic security that Biden promised to restore 4 years ago, but that remains elusive for many. The Supreme Court's overturning of the constitutional right to an abortion 2 years ago has opened an ideological and religious schism over reproductive rights that Biden plans to exploit to hurt Trump. But the president is equally vulnerable over an immigration crisis on the southern border that has swamped asylum laws, unfit to handle a new generation of migrants fleeing gangs, economic blight, and climate disasters. Now, so every single one of these migrants has a justifiable reason to Stephen Collinson, if you read between the lines on that statement. But what is interesting here is he makes it sound like the abortion issue is going to be as big of a political weapon as immigration. I don't know. I mean, if you look at the polls, voters overwhelmingly put the immigration at number 1. But I agree with what he's saying, that Biden is going to try to hit Trump on abortion a lot on Thursday. Just prepare for that. And so anyway, he ends up talking about the issues going on overseas as well, and the potential wars and the wars we're in, Israel, those type of things. I'm not going to go through all this because it's Stephen Collinson, but I want to highlight, the reason I bring this up is this is the outlet that the debate will be held at. And he has essentially made the point that Donald Trump is a threat to the future of this country. Trump's first term and sparse legislative record showed that he sees the presidency more as a channel for his wild personal whims rather than a policy laboratory. But his campaign, as well as allied conservative groups, have drawn up plans that, if implemented, would transform American governance. And a second-term administration stripped of restraining influences that frustrated the 45th president means he'd have far more latitude to do what he wants. One irony of Trump's first term and second term proposals is that while he's shifted from Republican Party away from its corporate heritage towards a more working class orientation, he pursues policies that disproportionately help richer Americans like himself. Oh my goodness, like the tax cuts. Yeah, that really hurts you and I. It is unbelievable how they can twist this. And this is, again, just keep this in mind when you're saying that the media, and this is, many people have said this, that the media, if Trump does a good job, they can't spin it. They can spin anything they want. Look at all, this is nothing but fabrication, things taken out of context, and also a spin, if you will. And it ultimately ends up looking like a leaflet for the Biden campaign. Post-game coverage of Thursday's debate is certain to zero in on the best verbal jabs, sound bites, and the stamina and energy of the rival candidates. But the most meaningful impact of the clash between Biden and Trump will only begin to unfold after noon on Inauguration Day, January 20, 2025. Very heavy stuff from Stephen Collinson to start out this hour. What are your thoughts? Is it the end of the world as we know it, or at least the end of democracy? As we were just talking about Biden ignoring the Supreme Court on the student loan issues, the weaponization of the judicial system, the justice system. Also, something as simple as trying to keep Trump off the ballot, and yet they're going to continue to lecture us about threats to democracy. Now, Ronald Brownstein, again from CNN, says the most important question it may answer for voters, meaning the debate, Biden is confronting widespread doubts about whether he has the physical and mental capacity to handle the presidency today, much less through a possible second four-year term. Trump's biggest challenge is character. While retrospective assessments of his presidency have been improving, many voters remain unconvinced he possesses the ethics, commitment to the rule of law, or moral compass they expect in a president. How's that working if that's what you expect from a president out of curiosity? For either man, the debate would excuse me. Got cut off there. Few subjects divide political practitioners and political scientists more than the importance of presidential debates. And that's one thing. If Biden doesn't do a great job, they're still going to say he did great, but then you'll start to see reporting of, well, didn't really move the needle or didn't have any impact. Presidential debates really don't have the impact that people put on them. Just be prepared for that as well. I do think this one has a lot of potential impact because you do see real concerns about President Biden's health and physical fitness and mental health. You see Trump, how is he going to handle it? Does he get aggressive? Now, he believes in his first debate with Biden, he did get too aggressive. So maybe he learned from that meeting, the first one back in 2020. So will he try to rein it in, or will Biden get the best of him? Biden and the CNN moderators and all the new rules and no audience, I could see him as soon as he starts to criticize CNN or criticize the moderators, them cutting him off. They're going to have the commercial breaks there to protect Biden in a way, if it comes down to it. And then this is a problem with coverage the week of the debate, or really anytime during the debate. They go through every single history of every single debate before you finally get to the nitty gritty of what they're expecting from today, or from Thursday, I should say. Plenty could go wrong at the debate for Trump, too. Well, let me take a step back. He starts with Biden. Gelston, who's Gelston? Well, one of the experts they interviewed, believes it won't be nearly as easy for Biden to dispel the doubts about his age. Biden's situation is more difficult. It's not similar to Reagan because he was one episode at the first debate that raised the age issue for Reagan. In Biden's case, it's been a steady drumbeat over many months. The negative impression Biden has to overcome is much more deeply entrenched. I can't imagine a single line doing for Biden what a single line did for Reagan. I think his challenge is to put a sustained, focused performance for 90 minutes. So he's going to have to be full 90 minutes. It's probably going to have to be. Personally, I didn't think the State of the Union was that impressive. It just seemed like a lot of yelling and anger to try to show energy. But of course, that gave the media all they needed to run with it. So I think you could see that same type of performance. There's going to be a lot of name calling and attacks from both sides, but I'll continue. The personal and policy points Biden wants to make at the debate could converge. The president's greatest political vulnerability is his record on inflation. His main strategy to rebut the Republican attacks over higher prices has been to emphasize ways he is confronting powerful interests to bring down costs. For instance, through Medicare, negotiating with pharmaceutical companies to lower drug costs. And to portray Trump as beholden to those same interests. As Green argues, more effective for Biden than telling voters how hard he is fighting for them against those interests would be to show them by fighting Trump that projects the vibe of strength. I still think immigration's got to be. I agree that the economy's up there, but immigration and public safety too. So he's got a lot of vulnerabilities that Trump could exploit. But I also think so many Democrat strategists, that's why I'm interested about this, have said that he has to show what he's going to do for the American people, meaning Biden. What 4 more years under him means, not just we don't like Trump. But that's not really what Green is suggesting here, but I'll continue. Plenty could go wrong at the debate for Trump, too. But of those two men, Biden at this point is facing what appears to be more obstacles, with only about 2/5 of Americans consistently saying they approve of his job performance and nearly twice as many indicating they believe he's too old for the job. As a result, the range of possible outcomes for Biden at the debate may be wider than for Trump. If Biden delivers an effective performance that eases concerns about his capacity, it could shake up public perception about who he is as a person right now. If it goes really well, I think it could bring the race back to jump ball. See, this is already setting the scene. Boy, if he just does good, because they know it's going to have to take something very, very bad. Some type of performance is very bad for them to, meaning the media, to criticize Biden, to suggest it wasn't a great performance. What he said there is very, very reminiscent of the State of the Union. He needs to do this now to really bring it back to even. And what did they say after the State of the Union? No matter what you thought of it, no matter what you saw, boy, it was a great performance. And that's what they're setting you up here, just so you know. If the debate goes badly for the president, the Democratic anxiety about renominating Biden, which lessened after the State of the Union, may return to 5 alarm levels. The stakes for Trump are high, said Galston, in a view echoed by many strategists of both parties. But the stakes for Biden are much higher. Boy, I don't know. This is just seems like they're setting the stage to tell you just how great Biden did and how it turned around his presidential campaign. We've got more on this, more on the debate. Stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox will be right back.
Isn't your wellness important? Don't you want more energy? Now's the best time to make every day better and relieve those achy muscles and pains than with the Hesselsen's Hot Tub. Hesselsen's has hot tubs in stock and available for immediate delivery with unbelievable savings. Hesselsen's offers 0% interest-free financing for up to 5 full years. Hesselsen's carries the only hot tub brand in the industry with the exclusive freshwater salt system that is eco-friendly and easy to use and only enhances your hot tubbing experience. Come in today and see why your next hot tub should be a Hesselsen's hot tub. And remember, it's always fun to poke in the corners at Hesselsen's.
If you or a loved one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer.
How do I know if I have a case?
Call 844-292-6222 and consult with one of our attorneys to find out if the products you used are part of the lawsuit. Your eligibility will also depend on how often you use these hair products and your specific cancer diagnosis. If you regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. Call 844-292-6222.
How much will it cost to talk to an attorney?
There is no fee unless we win your case. Call 844-292-6222 for your free case review.
I'm Mary Unkert. I've lived here for 70 years, but I do fine right here in my house, and I want to be here as long as I can be. And I feel comfortable knowing that if something happened to me, someone would know because of the cameras that are installed in various spots in my home. That has been a wonderful gift to me, to be able to have that security and that support from Full Circle America, and that's what it's all about.
Something with a diamond in it.
Diamondback rattlesnake.
It's in the name. Name a low-calorie food you might make your edible underwear out of.
Salmon.
Watch it weeknights. Share it the next day.
Wild caught Norwegian teriyaki.
Share in the fun. Weeknights on Family Feud.
7 and 7:30 on Big.
And we are back with Frankly Speaking. Thank you for joining us. A couple comments here from viewers. Does anyone believe that Biden won't have firsthand knowledge of the questions he will be asked? Well, I mean, you could point to Donna Brazile doing that for Hillary Clinton. Sure, definitely, and that's CNN, right? That definitely raises some concerns. I think overall, I don't know. Listen, you can kind of assume what is going to be asked no matter what, so I'm not sure if CNN specifically handed them the list, but I think it's pretty obvious. You're going to get a lot of January 6th questions, a lot of abortion questions, etc. Well, the New York Post editorial board, and if you're just joining us, you've missed a lot. But if you're just joining us, we're talking about the presidential debate, and I'd love to hear your opinion on it. Oh, another comment. I ask that you continue to stress the importance of voting to viewers and ask them to remind others over the next few months. We need every vote. I fear people will look at the polls and become complacent, but nothing is for certain except for fraud and deception. Yes, of course, we will always stress the importance of voting and encouraging others to vote as well. So yes, absolutely. All right, the New York Post editorial board put this together. Dear Donald Trump, here's how to win this week's debate and the election. I will say, even though I like the New York Post, you know that I quote them a lot, I have that problem with people telling Trump what he needs to do to win. I remember back in 2016, one of the political commentators was saying something to the extent of, not something to the extent, it was this, and it was Hugh Hewitt is who it was, but he said that the only way Trump can win is if he picks Chris Christie as his VP, these type of things. And I always thought it was pretty presumptuous to tell Trump, of all people, who had that huge upset in 2016, to tell him what he has to do. So I'm not criticizing the Post. I'm just telling you that's something that falls hard on my ears. But anyway, there's no one else quite like Donald Trump. What other candidate in American history would start polling his audience live as Trump did this weekend in Philadelphia on what his debate strategy against President Biden should be? How should I handle him? Should I be tough and nasty? Trump said, then took on a comically tough guy voice. Should I be rough, or should I be tough and nasty and just say you're the worst president in history? Well, the crowd roared. Or should I be nice and calm, boos rained down, and let him speak? See, I think a lot of Trump supporters don't want to see Biden allowed to speak. I think you have to find a happy medium. If Trump tries to talk over him the whole time, especially with the awkwardness of the mic being cut off, it could just come off very off-putting to viewers just from a television program wise. I mean, he's got to find that happy medium. No one wants him to be a quote-unquote wimp in there. But we do kind of want to see Biden given the opportunity to speak to some extent. Okay. Let no one accuse the Post of taking Trump literally, but not figuratively. We know it was a bit. Trump loves to get the crowd involved, present politics as a wrestling match. The debate question was meant to fire up the crowd and, as a bonus, drive MSNBC pundits bananas. Yeah, that's a very good point. Because they do take him literal. They will see that and go, he's polling his audience. But Mr. President, if you'll allow us to take the question at face value for a moment, we have a few thoughts. Again, this coming from the New York Post. The first being that a MAGA rally crowd is not the people you should be polling. Of course they're going to want tough and nasty Trump. They love tough and nasty Trump. They're also going to vote for you no matter what tone you take in the debate. Ask instead, what do independent voters want? You spent much of your 2020 campaign shoring up a base that didn't need convincing. Don't make the same mistake this time around. There are millions of Americans who are upset with Biden, but need reassurance that bringing back Donald Trump doesn't mean 4 years of chaos and drama. You know, the first debate in 2020 went awry. You were too angry, too hot, and interrupted too much. Biden can't form a sentence without making ridiculous claims, messing up names, forgetting where he is. Allow him. Letting him speak is to your advantage. A Trump rally is full of people angry about where the country is today. But most Americans don't just want someone who shares their anger. They want the promise of a happy future and stability. They want someone who can deliver a little normalcy. Government that isn't pushing radical change. An economy that works for them. Optimism. To that end, let's talk about the elephants in the room. CNN will invariably give Biden an advantage by talking about the topics he wants to highlight. Do you believe the 2020 election was stolen? Will you pardon the January 6th rioters? The best one is the true one. That's not what most voters care about. I'm not here to talk about it. The Gallup poll in March asked Americans about their top concerns, and they answered inflation, crime, homelessness, healthcare, the budget deficit, and immigration. By stressing those issues, not only do you put voters first, but you point out the hypocrisy of journalists that don't have their priorities straight. And we know how much you like to show up the media. Don't get played. Every time you're talking about yourself, you're giving Biden and CNN exactly what they want. Talk to and about the voters. You're a New Yorker, so we understand that your instinct is to go bare-knuckled. But the voters you need to win over don't want vows of retribution, of prosecuting Biden, or ripping apart the legal system. You have a chance to take the high ground here, and Americans, exhausted by the prospect of an endless cycle of tit-for-tat lawfare, are desperate for it. If you're just joining us, this again is the New York Post's position on what Trump should do to win the debate and the election. Another topic Biden and his media allies will want to spend an entire debate on: abortion. You have noted that all states now get to decide for themselves. All women will be and should be heard on the issue. But you can also ask a question the media never asked Biden. Where does he draw the line? Does he favor any restrictions? Is his position really in line with most people? In fact, this debate is a chance to show Americans just how radical Joe Biden is on every issue. Is there any limit to the number of people allowed to cross the border? Is there any bill that spends too much money? Who does he trust more, teacher unions or parents? The facts are damning. Stick to them. Remember this number, 19.4%. That's how much prices are up since Biden took office, according to the Consumer Price Index. Groceries, gas, eating out, going on vacation, everything costs nearly 20% more. This is the figure that voters care about most, and one that no fact checker could try to smugly dismiss. One doesn't need to be dirty to be effective. Say it directly, and it will be devastating. You shouldn't be tough and nasty. We don't expect you to be nice and calm. But you know what wins? Calm and tough. I thought it was a fair enough point. What do you think about what the New York Post has to say? But we got to take a break. Stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox.
We are proud to serve our country, to serve our local communities, to wear the uniform, to be a soldier, to serve abroad when and where duty calls. We are ready to stand with our brothers and sisters to defend, to serve, to fight. We're always ready, we're always there. We are the New York Army National Guard.
Tending the you love is a lot easier when you share the heavy lifting. Team up with Polaris Ranger, your hardworking partner for backyards, the backwoods, farms, and ranches.
Ithaca Recreation Sports, Route 13 in Newfield. Get outside and ride.
Make this summer of excitement. Hi, it's Adam at Blaze Alexander Chevrolet Buick GMC truck in Mansfield. Take as much as $11,000 off a new Silverado or Sierra 1500, $5,000 off Silverado or Sierra 2500 or 3500, and up to $5,000 off a new Equinox or Terrain. Take advantage of finance rates as low as 0.9% with GM financing for well-qualified customers. So stop in or check us out online where you'll find the lowest price guaranteed.
Guys, what I'm about to
show you is going to change the way you shave your head forever.
You can shave your head in 90 seconds or less.
With no cuts or nicks. It's 100% waterproof.
It even works in the shower.
Introducing Remington's Balder Boss. With increased flex and 5 dual-track floating head design, get over 60% more head coverage for a faster, closer shave and skin-close results.
No nicks, no scrapes. Fit in the palm of my hand, and the results were amazing.
Shave in the shower or with any foam or gel. With Japanese-grade steel blades, plow through the thickest of hair. Anytime, anywhere. There's even a pop-up trimmer to complete your perfect groom. Now, you can try the Remington Balder Boss in your home for 30 days for just $14.99. Complete with a 5-year limited warranty and 100% satisfaction guarantee. You can also get our ear, nose, and brow trimmer free. Just pay separate processing and handling.
Give it a try. You won't be disappointed.
Order your Balder Boss now.
Sheldon and Missy face off in Book Smarts versus Street Smarts.
I'm not feeling so good. Biohazard! Biohazard!
Young Sheldon. Weeknights at 6:30.
We are back. Sorry, just putting together all of these great comments coming in from viewers. Thank you so much. You are watching Frankly Speaking. All right, let's start with the comments here. Just wondering, in terms of vice president, has DeSantis been mentioned lately? Do you know? No, he hasn't, as far as I know. I mean, when we've been talking so much about the short lists and the names being thrown around, I have not heard DeSantis' name being in the mix, but that is kind of interesting to the point where maybe it is a surprise sleeper pick from Trump. You never know. So no, I have not. As much as people keep talking about how biased the debate and attack will be towards Trump, there should be as much of a push to get a debate that would be an actual debate on Fox News. As much as Democrats lie, a hard enough push in social media on all platforms could evolve into a third debate. If Democrats get their backs up against the wall the way they do it to Republicans, it could work. I don't see a scenario. I don't care how much social media push there is. I don't see Biden or any real, in the future, any Democrat go to Fox for a debate. Okay. It was Democrats that created the chaos and turmoil by their daily obstruction of Trump and their lies. Another comment. You're doing exactly what Trump did. If I lose the election, it was fixed. Now, if Biden looks good, that bar was low. No, just historically, I'm just telling you what we saw from the State of the Union, what we've seen from past media coverage of debates. I mean, I don't think I'm saying anything too shocking. What I've said is there isn't a scenario where Biden doesn't win the debate, have the performance of his life. So if that means he was great, all right, then the media was honest. If it means that he's mediocre and they still push that message, it's just typically what the media does. Now, CNN had their contributors rewatch the 2020 Biden-Trump debates for clues. Boy, they are making some hay off of this, huh? CNN. Okay. All right. That's an interesting way to spend your time. Scott Jennings said, against Biden, Trump has a low bar to clear. With the first presidential debate of 2024 upon us, a lot of us are thinking back to the last time Donald Trump and Joe Biden met on a debate stage. Twice in the space of a few weeks, in fact. And he goes through the whole history of that. This is why this is going to be weird. But substance aside, Trump delivered a performance that, had it come in the first debate, might have given him a chance to win re-election. He looked and sounded like a reasonable, composed leader who had command of the national situation. But by then, the American people had soured on Trump's style, and millions had already voted. That's why the early voting is so important, to get out and vote. Oh, also, I did receive this comment from a viewer. It just made me think of it. If you receive ballots for people who don't live there or extra ballots you did not request, contact the Board of Elections and make us think about it. All right. Thank you for that comment. Now, the pressure is on, according to Scott Jennings, and he's the Republican at CNN. The pressure is on Biden to change the trajectory of a race which Trump, according to forecasters, is now favored to win. There are nearly daily political stories citing Democrat leaders in panic over Biden's flailing performance. Trump simply needs to replicate his performance from the second debate in 2020 to win this one. Remain calm, be the president, not a member of the peanut gallery. Play the happy but determined warrior and let Biden lose his temper the way he has so often when confronted in public. Bring clear facts to exchanges on the economy and inflation because Biden has struggled mightily to do so himself. Do you think if they're going to bring up January 6th, you figure they're going to bring up Trump's trials? Do they bring up Hunter's trials or no? I'm just curious. This made me think of this because, if the media is going to be fair, they could load the question that way to bring up both. Just kind of interesting. Anyway, the correct frame for Trump is strength versus weakness. And there's nothing stronger in politics than a measured, calm leader who knows how to contrast himself against a flailing, angry opponent. Sophia Nelson from CNN, we're just giving you some of the takeaways from CNN watching the old debates between Biden and Trump and what to expect on Thursday. Again, coming from CNN. One of the most striking moments for the 2020 debates, the most iconic and jaw-dropping moment in my view, was an exchange between Trump and debate moderator Chris Wallace. Wallace challenged Trump to disavow the white nationalists who were among his fervent supporters. Some had engaged in violent protests, including in Charlottesville months earlier, where one left-leaning counter-demonstrator lost her life. That's when Trump made the shocking statement to the Proud Boys to stand back and stand by. Boy, they are going to make hay off of this. Both men will need to... I'm going to skip ahead because you understand what she's doing. She's going to bring... She says bring up January 6th, all that. Okay. The moderator should also bring up Trump's divisive record on immigration and racial issues, including the role he has played in dismantling affirmative action and the attacks on programs promoting diversity, equity, and inclusion. This goes to show you a little bit about how the media is in a bubble. Because only someone in the media, only someone kind of entrenched in Washington culture would think that would play huge to the American people. Trump's immigration plan would actually benefit him. And to bring up affirmative action and bring up DEI, I don't think... Well, if Biden wants to do it, go for it. As a former Republican who was a proud member of the party for decades, dating back to college, it has been sad to see its demise, largely as a result of the wayward leadership of the soon-to-be GOP nominee. A prime example of someone who been a Republican my whole life, or whatever the statement always is, been registered as a Republican my whole life. Both men will need to offer a pathway forward that restores domestic tranquility and unity, but only one will rise to that challenge. So this former, almost lifelong Republican that just happened to switch after Trump believes in the Republican Party that that would be against dismantling affirmative action and against attacking programs like diversity, equity, and inclusion. But anyway, even if Trump is pressed, I do not expect him to offer anything of substance on the issue of race. His 40 years in public life as a business mogul, casino operator, that he's an avowed racist. So, yeah, this is typical CNN coverage. Sophia Nelson is an award-winning author and journalist. She is a former House Republican Government Reform and Oversight Investigative Committee counsel. She said, in short, I anticipate the race will once again be a central debate topic this week, that race will be. It's already a campaign talker. The Trump campaign continues to say that the former president is getting the support of large swaths of black and brown voters in 2024. And some polls show that Biden is facing eroding support from those same groups. Even as his campaign team insists that the polls are skewed, I'm hoping that the polls are wrong too. We'll only know for sure on Election Day. Kate Bedingfield says muting the mic may actually help an undisciplined Trump. Okay. I think just from a technical standpoint, it's going to be very awkward for both. More so for Trump because he will be one to try to talk over. But I just think it's going to, well, I guess time will tell. We'll see. And again, I don't want to read all of this because these all are getting longer. But Trump's open mic meant the TV audience got the full brunt of his frantic, angry energy. And Biden got the contrast he wanted. In the second debate, with muted mics, Trump was forced to be far more restrained, which meant Biden had to drive the conversation more clearly to his lines of attack, something we focused on heavily in debate prep. Team Biden should have every expectation that will be his task later this week when given the muted mics and the lack of an in-house audience to feed off of. The most disciplined version of Trump may well be on display. All right, let's take a short break. We'll be right back. And frankly speaking, here on WYDC TV, Big Fox, please stay with us.
Our water's better tasting, it's better for the planet.
That's great, sir. Can I take your order?
Oh, number 3.
At Culligan, we get that most people don't think about water like we do, and that's okay. You see, when we install our drinking water and softening systems, we're thinking about filtering contaminants and the minerals that make water hard. So you can just think about softer, cleaner, better tasting water. At Culligan, we think about your water, so you don't have to.
Call today to schedule your free water test.
Your triathlon. Let's splash through rushing rivers, take on iconic trails, and race straight to the top. What's the point of winning if you can't kick back and enjoy the view? Yours, Toyota SUVs.
Lease a new RAV4 all-wheel drive for just $319 a month, and you've got everything you need to take adventure further. Find yours at Toyota.com. Toyota. Let's go places.
The world's pizza has been baked in ovens made of stone, but you can't fit one of those on the countertop in your home. Introducing Paisano, the authentic pizza oven by Granite Stone. Now make the world's most delicious pizza with real stone right in your own home. You simply set it and let it make golden, crispy, extra cheesy stone-baked pies in under 6 minutes. The secret is the dual-controlled heat zones that quickly heat the real ceramic stone up to 800 degrees so you can stone bake just like the pros. Plus, there's no gas, wood, or charcoal needed. Paisano is electric, plug-in, and portable. You can get your Paisano pizza oven for just 4 easy payments of $39.99. And we're gonna drop one payment. You get it all for just 3 easy payments of $39.99. Plus, we'll ship your entire order free.
Call 1-800-597-7208 or order online at buypaisano.com. Call now.
Frankly speaking, here on WYDC TV. Big Fox, thank you so much for joining us this morning. As we're covering a lot, we're talking about the debate. Now, again, if you're just joining us, CNN put together their contributors making statements on what they can expect after rewatching the 2020 debates. Sure, Michael Singleton said, some things never change. It's still, quote, the economy, stupid. Boy, they put a lot of emphasis on that statement, don't they? If I never heard that statement again in the political realm, I never thought it was as clever as everybody else thinks it is. Some things never change. It's still the economy, stupid. Maybe the mantra that carries Trump back to the White House. I expect Trump to point out that many Americans simply can't afford to pay their rent or buy their first home. If a good part of the first presidential debate between Biden and Trump focused on returning manufacturing jobs, this year's first debate will be about inflation and the skyrocketing cost of living. All right, that could be. I mean, I hope that Trump focuses on that. David Axelrod, of course, from the Obama campaign and administration, said a trap Biden must avoid at all costs and a contrast he should play up. The contestants will be the same, but the circumstances very different. One of the challenges for Biden will be to resist the common first debate trap that often ensnares incumbents, who know too many details and are eager to share them in defense of their records. The goal for Biden should be able to play offense and set up a contrast with Trump, who has his own profound liabilities. Yes, Trump is a convicted felon. There you go. What the lawfare was all about. Who refused to accept the results of the last election and stands accused of plotting to overturn it. More fertile grounds for contrast and attack, however, are questions of empathy for people's struggles and the motivation behind each nominee's candidacies. If Biden wants an example of how to do this, he should study one of his own answers from the first debate. I don't want to go through all that, but basically the idea that Biden can bring up his time in Scranton, Pennsylvania. Dave Urban says a promise kept by Trump to conservatives, and he'll vow to deliver later. Trump will look to secure strong support from his fervent supporters, including Christian conservatives, on the issue of future federal judicial appointments, not to mention possible additional Supreme Court picks. But perhaps more important than breaking Reagan's record would be the role Trump could play in solidifying and rightward tilt of the Supreme Court. In 4 years, Justice Samuel Alito will be 78, and Justice Clarence Thomas will be 80. President Trump might make their decisions about retirement that much easier. The stakes for both sides could not be higher. Bakari Sellers from CNN says a side-by-side look at Trump and Biden for black Americans, the choice couldn't be clearer. And let's see if I can get to the bottom of it. Trump, meanwhile, is a convicted felon who called out the National Guard on Black Lives Matter protesters and has pledged to pardon January 6th terrorists. Who capped the cost of insulin for seniors, secured $146 billion in student debt relief, fought to improve housing and child care, and invested $16 billion in historically black colleges and universities? Biden. Who failed to come through with promised spending increases for HBCUs? Trump. The record is undeniable. Candidate Biden made the contrast clear at the debate in 2020. On Thursday, President Biden needs to do it again. Trump is asking Biden to take a drug test before the CNN debate, saying he'll take one too. Going on Truth Social, the former president said, drug test for crooked Joe Biden? I would also immediately agree to one. One Trump ally told the Post, there is no universe in which Biden's not being medicated before the debate. If he wants to dispel that, he should offer to take a drug test, but we all know he won't do that. Campaign spokeswoman Carolyn Levitt said, I think it's a fair question worth asking. If Biden wants to prove otherwise, why didn't he commit to a drug test? The GOP representative, what's his name? Ronnie Jackson. Remember Ronnie Jackson? He was the, I guess, doctor, the White House doctor for Obama and Trump. He says, so we're going to send another letter. You have sent several letters already to the White House. You're readying to send another letter to the White House tomorrow. Tell us what you're doing, asked Maria Bartiromo. Jackson said, yes, Maria, I don't need to tell you. I need to tell your viewers or anybody else in the country right now that we have a serious problem here. Everyone knows it. You don't have to be a physician. You certainly don't have to be a physician to the president to see what's going on right now. So I have sent 5 letters previously asking for President Biden to submit a cognitive test. Very similar to the one that President Trump got while he was president, and all 5 of those letters have gone completely ignored. So tomorrow, I'm sending a letter to President Biden, to his physician, Dr. O'Connor, and I'm CCing his entire cabinet. And it's embarrassing that I have to do this, and it's really embarrassing as a former White House physician to have to do something like this. But we don't have any choice based on what's going on. But I'm going to be demanding on behalf of many millions of concerned Americans right now that he submit to a drug test before and after this debate. Specifically looking for performance-enhancing drugs because we have seen recently in the State of the Union address that there was a Joe Biden that came out that was not similar at all to what we see on a day-to-day basis for the last 3.5 years. And there's just really no way to explain that other than he was on something, that they'd given him medication. I feel like this is probably what's going on over the week at Camp David. He's going to be at Camp David for a full week before the debate. Part of that is probably experimenting with just getting the doses just right, because they have to treat his cognition. They have to give him something to help him think straighter. They have to give him something to wake him up to for his alertness. And then he's been agitated. We see that all the time. And that's a common symptom of a sign of cognitive disorder that he seems to be suffering from. And so they're probably going to give him something to take the edge off of that as well. They don't get it right, just like if they didn't get it right just last time at the State of the Union. He came out. He was obviously much more alert, but he was yelling, angry old man. And he still didn't make a lot of sense. So I think they have got an uphill battle here. And I think they're going to have to do something to try to wake him up and make him perform a little better during the debate. And I don't think that's what the American people want out of their president. I think they want somebody that can do this on their own. They have to make incredible decisions. They have to multitask every day. We don't want somebody who has to be medicated to perform and potentially get the job done. So I think it's important that they prove to us that he's not doing performance-enhancing drugs of any type. That's Ronnie Jackson. We got to take a quick break. Stay with us. Getting ready to wrap things up. Boy, this show's going fast. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking.
Sit and sleep in Corning. It's time for a new mattress. Shop and compare Eye Comfort. Shop and compare Serta Perfect Sleeper. Shop and compare Beauty Rest. Shop and compare King Coil. Sit and sleep in Corning. You won't find a better deal, guaranteed.
When it comes to fun, it's what we do. See the Temptations perform hits like My Girl, Papa Was a Rolling Stone, and more. Tickets on sale now at Ticketmaster.com or at the gift shop. Tioga Downs Casino Resort. Fun is what we do.
What if you could whiten your teeth by simply brushing your teeth? Now you can with Smile Actives, the teeth whitening breakthrough that safely gets your teeth white and keeps them white every day, just by brushing your teeth. Simply add Smile Actives to any toothpaste and our patented PolyClean technology activates into a powerful microfoam that penetrates into the enamel surface to safely lift and remove stains.
You need a simple way to whiten your teeth. Without strips, without trays, without going to the dentist.
I eat the blueberries, I drink the coffee, and I know that Smile Actives will keep my teeth white every day.
Now you can whiten your teeth with new Smile Actives Pro Whitening Gel every time you brush your teeth. Call or go to smileactives.com and for a limited time get new Pro Whitening Gel for just $24.95. Order in the next 5 minutes and buy one, get one absolutely free. We'll even include free shipping. Call or click now before the special buy one, get one free offer goes away.
And we are back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. So just to prove the point that we've been making about CNN this morning, CNN abruptly takes off the Trump campaign spokeswoman mid-interview, as network is set to host the first presidential debate. She started criticizing the hostile environment for her boss with the CNN debate moderators. That's why President Trump is knowingly going into a hostile environment on this very network, as the CNN with debate moderators who have made their opinions about him very well known over the past 8 years in their biased coverage of him. Hunt immediately fired back that her colleagues were, quote, professionals, before playing a slew of prepared clips showing the former president's past comments about what he's expecting to face from moderators. Leavitt tried to speak up and note that she was stating facts that her colleagues have said in the past, and that's when Hunt said, "Ma'am, we're going to stop right there. If you're going to keep attacking my colleagues, I would like to talk about Joe Biden and Donald Trump, who you work for. I'm sorry, guys. Caroline, thank you very much for your time. You're welcome to come back at any time," Hunt declared. She is welcome to come back and speak about Donald Trump. Donald Trump will have equal time to Joe Biden when they both join us later this week in Atlanta for the debate. So she later tweeted out, "You come on my show, you respect my colleagues, period. I don't care what side of the aisle you stand on, as my track record clearly shows." As Leavitt said, CNN cutting off my microphone for bringing up a debate moderator's history of anti-Trump lies just proves our point that President Trump will not be treated fairly in Thursday's debate. Yet President Trump is still willing to go into the 3-on-1 fight to bring his winning message to the American people, and he will win. They do have a long history. They even, including comparing Trump to Hitler. State of the Union co-host Dana Bash and Jake Tapper have a long history of criticizing the former president. Tapper, the network's lead Washington anchor, has called the 45th president a desperate electoral loser, suggesting Trump spread Russian propaganda, and has said that if reelected, the former president will try to, quote, kill democracy. These are the moderators, folks. Just keep that in mind. Hey, I've said from the beginning, I wish this was not a part of the agreement, but he did try to kill democracy once, and he's going to try to do it again, Tapper said, but this time with a little help from his friends. And then he compared him to Hitler, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not going to go into all that. We know the bias there. It's just, it's amazing how they try to downplay it and suggest that it'll be otherwise. A CNN spokesman told the New York Post that there's no two people better equipped. Jake Tapper and Dana Bash are well-respected veteran journalists who have covered politics for more than 5 decades combined. They have extensive experience moderating major political debates, including CNN's Republican presidential primary debate this cycle. There are no two people better equipped to co-moderate a substantial and fact-based discussion, and we look forward to the debate on June 27th in Atlanta. so respected veteran journalist Jake Tapper. Okay. Let's go away from that. Let's talk about maybe CNN can, this is a comment from a viewer, maybe CNN will flood their commercial breaks with Biden's rigorous rally schedule. Yes, I think some sarcasm there. That's a very well taken point. It is going to be interesting. I do think the bar has been set low. I will say that. So it's going to be interesting to see how Thursday plays out. Now, but on to the campaign itself. Planned Parenthood, which we know the abortion issue will come up a lot during the debate. I don't think that would come as any surprise for any of us. Planned Parenthood is going to spend $40 million ahead of the election. The group will initially target 8 states: Arizona, Georgia, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, as well as North Carolina, which the president's campaign hopes to flip after Donald Trump won it 4 years ago, and Montana, New Hampshire, and New York, which have races that could help determine control of the Senate and the House. So it's not just presidential. Planned Parenthood looking to spend $40 million ahead of the election. The push will try to reach voters with volunteer and paid canvassing programs, phone banking, and digital, TV, and mail advertising. Abortion will be the message of this election, and it'll be how we energize voters, said Jenny Lawson of Planned Parenthood Votes. It'll be what enables us to win. All right, we got to take a short break. A few other things about the race, and then we're going to wrap things up. So we'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox, stay with us.
Was your premature baby fed a cow's milk baby formula such as Similac or Enfamil? If so, your child may be entitled to significant financial compensation. Evidence shows that cow's milk formulas increase the risk of NEC in premature babies, causing severe harm and even death. If your child was born premature and suffers from NEC, intestinal perforations, sepsis, cerebral palsy, or died as a result, you may have the right to sue for significant financial compensation. Call now for a free case review.
My entire practice is focused and centered around St. James Hospital in Hornell. We see a lot of joint pain from hips, shoulders, and knees, whether you're a weekend warrior or even a 80 to 90-year-old who just wants to stay active and keep walking a couple blocks in their neighborhood. I want to spend the time to connect, to really hear you and understand why you've come to visit me to seek treatment. It drives me to be the best physician I can be so that you can go back and do the things that you want to do in life.
Hi, I'm Suzanne. Welcome to Pangea Global Tea House.
Pangea Global Tea House offers comfort foods of the world. Over 50 teas, a sampling of cuisine from over 10 countries. Globally inspired cuisine and striving to give you an ultimate experience. Come in and try the frankly delicious Turkey Club special for just $20, including your beverage of choice. Pangea Global Tea House. Yet a really good tea house bringing you the flavors of the world, offering something for everyone.
And we are back. Thank you for joining us as we broadcast live from the Hesselson studio, just wrapping things up. I know it's amazing how quickly this show goes. Nancy Pelosi said it's really sad that people fall for Trump's sick rhetoric. This was on CNN. Anderson Cooper, of course, wants to bring up January 6th. Pelosi said, well, I think it's very sick. You know, I'll always like to quote our national anthem, that we have to prove through the night that our flag is still there. And we have to prove through all this difficulty of all the misrepresentation that he is putting forth. It's really sad that people even fall for that. But the fact is we have to prove our flag is still there by showing the difference. We talk about honoring our first responders, our men and women in uniform. Yes, let's do that. Let's not praise and call warriors people who attack them. Well over 100 law enforcement people were injured that day. Some died because of that. Host Joy Reid from MSNBC said that rich people are kissing Trump's ring. Those rich people don't care about democracy. America's billionaires, oil, gas, tech, media, and otherwise are busy tripping over themselves and stampeding over each other to get in front of Donald Trump and hand him millions in campaign donations so he can get back into the White House. In exchange for the bribes he's soliciting door to door, hat in hand, he's offering to let them operate with less regulation. including drilling on public lands. That's one of two things you need to understand about this upcoming election. The other is that the massive tax cut Donald Trump signed his first year as president in 2017, which was a dream Paul Ryan, then Speaker of the House, had nursed for most of his adult life, is set to expire next year on New Year's Eve, December 31st, 2025. While President Biden has vowed to let it expire, Trump is vowing to not only keep those tax cuts, but add to them. That means billionaires can gobble up more tax cuts. That's the reason every other billionaire is kissing Trump's ring. And a lot of non-billionaire rich people too, including the rappers. It's all about the Benjamins, baby. They don't care about democracy or voting rights or women's rights. In fact, democracy and voting are an inconvenience to the super rich because then people get to choose. They almost always choose to tax the rich. Don't believe the baloney about people voting against their economic interests. The people who vote for Trump and other Republicans are richer than average, not poor. So no matter how cruel or deranged or clearly not cognitively okay this man may be, the billionaires are still willing to drop America into his tiny hands just as long as they get to keep that tax cut and get more deregulation. Oh, wow, lot to dissect there. Not even worth it, is it? Cognitively not okay. Interesting how they pick and choose that. Biden's campaign chairwoman has conceded Florida is likely not winnable in 2024. Jen O'Malley Dillon responded no when asked in an interview if she considered Florida a battleground state. Florida is in play for President Biden and Democrats up and down the ballot. Trump and his out-of-touch loyalists are taking the state for granted while their extreme agenda continues to increase costs and rip away Floridans' freedoms. The president has a strong story to tell on that issue that matters most to Floridians, which is why our campaign continues to scale up our presence and investments in the state. Tyler Day asks, will a crime wave in this Pennsylvania city shape the 2024 election outcome? Scranton, the electric city and boyhood home of President Biden, will likely figure in the political headlines throughout the 2024 election season. It's a Pennsylvania swing area, you know that. A prominent issue for Scranton and its surrounding communities is violent crime. During the first 5 months of 2024, the city recorded 5 homicides, far exceeding any annual total in recent memory. During all of 2023, Scranton saw 3 homicides, and the years prior recorded 1 to 2 homicides per year. It wasn't uncommon for the city to see 0 homicides in a year as it did in 2019. So what this piece is from a lifetime Pennsylvania resident saying, come November, we'll find out whether the paper or the public is right about crime in Scranton. And the verdict may have ramifications beyond Pennsylvania's 6th largest city. Now, I mentioned this quickly in the beginning of the show. I know I'm going fast now. That the Supreme Court decision on Trump immunity is expected perhaps this week. The case could have significant impact on how former presidents may be held to account for any criminal actions they take while in office, and is among 14 cases the court must decide this term. So you can find out more about that yourself, but we are going to definitely bring that up throughout the week, and we will continue to talk about the debate. Now, Nancy Pelosi, also on Anderson Cooper, says that the Supreme Court has gone rogue. No, I think they've gone rogue. It's most unfortunate, but it's unfortunate to see what happened with the other justices. What happened to the Chief Justice? Did he go weak or did he go rogue? I don't know. All right, folks, we are out of time. Did I cover everything? I got one other story. This is interesting. A town that supported defunding the police, St. Louis. St. Louis has had more than 1,000 murder cases over the last decade, which remain unsolved. They're blaming the fact that there just aren't the people to work. People don't want to be police. There's not enough funding. Interesting. Now we're out of time for today's edition of Frankly Speaking. Thank you, everybody who joined us. I wanted to remind you on Thursday, Assemblyman Phil Palmisano will be our guest. So get your questions in for the Assemblyman. That is on Thursday. We've got some other guests we're working on this week. It's going to be back. It's going to be a fun week to be on the air. So I hope that you will tune in every weekday morning, starting at 6 a.m. for Frankly Speaking, only on WYDC TV, Big Fox. We will see you tomorrow morning, bright and early. I look forward to it already. Have a great day, everyone.
I'm Marion Crawford. I've lived here for 70 years, but I do fine right here in my house, and I want to be here as long as I can be. And I feel comfortable knowing that if something happened to me, someone would know because of the cameras that are installed in various spots in my home. That has been a wonderful gift to me, to be able to have that security and that support from Full Circle America, and that's what it's all about.
I'm Jonathan Lawson. If you're 50 to 85, please listen closely. The lock I want to talk to you about isn't the one on your door. It's a rate lock for your life insurance that guarantees that once you're insured, your rate can never go up at any time for any reason. Many policies you see don't have one, but you can get a lifetime rate lock from Colonial Penn. This plan was designed for people on a